When I was a student, Sciences Po was all in French, but now since it's all in English, I'm going to talk in English. I want to wish you all a good morning. I'm very happy and pleased to be here. It's a great honor to return to a place that shaped me when I was an exchange student during my junior year at Duke University. In fact, it's the first time that I met Sciences Po students in North Carolina. The year I moved from Durham to Paris changed my life. Paris did not only invite me to study differently, it invited me to think differently. To see how culture sustains the ecosystem of a creative city, as you can imagine, Duke was on a tobacco farm, while Sciences Po was at the heart of Saint-Germain. The experience couldn't be more different. When you look at a city, a museum, or even a single building, what do you really see? Every morning, I walked through the Tuileries, past the Musée d'Orsay, into the streets of Saint-Germain. The galleries, the bakeries, the small markets, they taught me before I even entered the classroom. Each street carried a memory. Each building carried history. Spaces are never neutral. They hold energy, they hold memory, they hold function. And how we design them determines how communities live and how they thrive. Every new building today becomes tomorrow's heritage. That is why we must teach the young that innovation is not about erasing the past. True innovation is when the present grows from the roots of the past, the future is ancestral. This is where Qatar is close to France. In Qatar, we placed heritage at the heart of development. It is the vision of our nation in every neighborhood. We cherish the past. Old parks, palaces, civic buildings, preserved and reimagined. The National Museum of Qatar by Jean Nouvel rises like the desert rose, yet embraces the old palace of my great-great-grandfather, past and future interwoven. To walk there is to feel the winds, the sounds, the memory of our land. It is a reminder. Qatar's strength is not borrowed glitter, but in being rooted in nature, in ancestry, in our own voice. Souk Waqif, once a marketplace of spices, now restored to show our forebears lived. The fire station, once civil defense building, now a school for artists from all over the world. The old flour mill will become the Art Mill Museum, where French masters will meet artists from across the globe. In 2020, during the Qatar-France Year of Culture, we hosted Giacometti, Picasso, and Dior. But our goal was never simply to import glamour. Our goal is to build confidence in who we are. To appreciate the genius of others does not mean abandoning your own. On the contrary, you are stronger when you're rooted in your own voice. A beautiful example is the tapestry of Buthain al-Miftah with the Aubusson in France, centuries of French tradition woven with Qatari imagination, a dialogue across cultures, proof that culture is the most powerful language for peace. And this year we celebrate 50 years of the National Museum of Qatar, the first in the region. And I remember fondly when Jean Nouvel once told me, let's fill this museum with the best films in the world. And I asked him, what about our collections? He said, but you don't have a Mona Lisa. And I told him, why? I don't need a Mona Lisa. I have our own stories. We have our own stories to tell. And today our museums tell those stories with objects, films, and oral histories, giving goosebumps to our Middle Eastern visitors, past, present, and future together. A museum made in Qatar by Qatar. But here again, Paris was one of my teachers. History is not static, it's dynamic. It's written layer upon layer, century after century. The Place de la Concorde by Ange Gabriel, the Tuileries of Le Nôtre, gently revisited by Pascal Crébier and Louise Benesch, the Pyramids of the Louvre by I.M. Pei, magnifying the Cour Napoleon, the Pont Neuf carrying crowds since the Middle Ages. Each edition did not erase the past, it deepened it. This layering gave France its identity, its pride, its strength. That is the vision we carry in Qatar, to layer our history, to honor our roots, to let the winds, sounds, and stories of our land guide us into the future. Because only a future anchored in ancestry has the power to endure. Last night, I arrived from New York City, another urban teacher of mine, a city that is not only designed to create a thriving economic system, but also one that energizes and inspires innovation. New York is a cosmopolitan city, meshed in narratives of the past and the future, once called New Amsterdam and developed by the Dutch. Today is known for its financial districts and thriving culture communities. I have lived in New York in 3 different occasions, once as an intern at Tribeca Film Festival, another as a student studying urban policy at Columbia University, and third as a culture diplomat. Each time I experienced New York differently, and each time the city provided me with the answers I was searching for. This time, I experienced New York as a visitor during the historical recognition of Palestine by world leaders, including France. Why is this important? It is important because Palestine was an area that celebrated religious diversity and is a rich cultural community. Its richness comes from the mix of ethnicities and people, from food to film to fashion to design to architecture. What comes from Palestine influenced so many other cultures. As we watch the Gaza famine and genocide and witness the demolition of buildings from historical churches to schools to whole neighborhoods, we lose part of our humanity. But then we use culture to resist oppression, from films like Hind Rajab to music like Saint Levant, to elevate the voices of Palestinians, creatives rise above, and it's been moving to see how the whole world has become mobilized towards the humanitarian cause. From Qatar's position, we have dedicated a whole culture project working alongside the Musée d'Orsay and Musée Guimet to address the past through the visual arts. We use the research of artifacts to address the impact of colonization and post-colonization on our region. The Lusail Museum of Almah Island, Lusail, Qatar, a new development by Herzog de Meuron, a revisit of what colonization has done to our region and how to rise again, using arts and culture as a means to empower and bridge divisions. Throughout this museum, we learn about lost cities, revive civilizations once forgotten, and reinvent the future for our children. So let me conclude humbly. Culture is the soul of any nation. It is the heartbeat of society. It speaks beyond words. It invites, it unites. How we build and design our cities is important. It is the planning of the urban fabric that unites people and facilitates exchanges. For those here thinking about your own culture master plans, my message is simple. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you have. Be proud of what you represent. Do not believe that what comes from the so-called powerful culture is more important than yours. On the contrary, your artists, your filmmakers, your designers, your craftsmanship, these are the treasures greater than anything one can import. The future is ancestral, and then we are anchored in our roots. No one can make us doubt our worth. Thank you so much.